We are families, we are caregivers, we are parents to children with disabilities and medical complexities. We are rarely familiar. We get together to learn, to relate, and to laugh a lot while we share each other's unique family experiences of raising the rarest of the rare. Our goal is to unite, inspire, educate, and empower people living a rarely familiar life. And we're so glad you're here.
Hi, welcome to Rarely Familiar. This is Jen here with my friends Tram and Haley, where we dig into the realities of raising the rarest of the rare. Today, we are going to get familiar with Anna Elder, who is a realtor and founder of Anna Elder Homes, which helps families with unique needs navigate the housing market. So before we jump into this interesting show, let's do our check-in. How are you two doing?
Good. It's been an eventful day. So Sadie had a field trip this morning, and all of a sudden I get a call at 8:50, and it's the school. And I'm like, she's not even there yet. Why are you calling?
Oh, no.
And it was the nurse and her special ed teacher, and they're like, hey, they have a field trip. They're leaving right away to go to music hall, but one of the nurses called in sick. So now she won't have a nurse that comes and helps to do some of the medical cares just in case. They always send someone. So I was like, oh, it's okay. She's back to baseline because she's been so sick.
Yeah.
But it was like, wait a minute, why are you calling me?
Oh, I never got the call.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's always nice that they check in. And I'm thankful that the team was able to work it out. But it's always one of those things where you're like, oh gosh, the school's calling.
Yeah.
I've been getting a call from the school like every day about the food pump is not functioning properly.
Mhm.
Did you try this? Did you try this? Troubleshooting. But your heart skips a beat every time
Yeah.
you get a call from the
Yeah.
school.
They preface it for me and they say, everything's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
We
ask
do.
about this or
But
that.
still, there's a
Yeah.
split second before
Yeah.
that. That's, you see the thing on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, I have a fun thing to share. We just got our gear for the podcast. We
Yeah.
got t-shirts and hats.
Jen's been wanting these forever.
Not awesome.
Forever.
Yes. And so I would put it on, but I have you can kind of see this.
They're
black
very
hat.
cute.
I'm excited.
So whenever we see her out in the wild, she'll be wearing a hat.
I will be
that
wearing it.
says rarely familiar. You can spot her.
Exactly. I want to have things to talk about with people, right?
Good conversation starters.
Exactly. We were talking about self-care recently and how it's lacking sometimes. And I have a friend who just gifted me with a self-care, an advanced corrective body work session, which is basically pressure points and digging in. There was no warm up. Like I was laying there ready for somewhat of a massage. And it was like instantly.
Is that self-care?
Well, afterwards, my posture, my shoulders were back.
Okay,
I could
all
lay
right,
on I could lay on the bench flat. I felt so aligned, but it was extremely painful, and I had
Yes.
to really work on my breath. But today, I feel really like fluid and good. And
Yeah.
It worked. I've gone to Thai yoga body work sessions, and it's kind of like that, a lot of pressure points. It's not super relaxing, but you feel good afterwards. I think I just heard the bus come home. Felix is just about to head off to Fraser to do some talk therapy. And it actually ends up being kind of like art therapy too. He draws while he's talking, and we're just trying to maybe unpack some of the trauma. He keeps saying, what happened to me when I was born? And I think we're just navigating that whole world. And so we've had that recent autism diagnosis. And so who better to navigate that than Fraser? They seem to be kind of the experts in that space. And I know our guest has some familiarity with that organization and a lot of other ones. So Jen, you want to go ahead and introduce her?
I do. So we met Anna back in September at the Santa in September event put on by Joy Collaborative. And it was an outdoor expo, and we had a table right next to Anna, and we got to talking, and she started sharing the work that she's doing, and I was extremely intrigued, and I thought, oh my goodness, we need to have you as a guest. So Anna is the most recent recipient of the Minnesota Association of Realtors Good Neighbor Award, so that's pretty exciting. I want to hear more about that. And she's doing some amazing things, but I think welcome Anna, first of all, to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. And if you want to share with the listeners kind of your story, what you're doing, a little bit about your family.
Hi, I'm Anna Elder. I'm a realtor. I'm a mom, and I'm really a autism advocate is what I call myself. And my goal is really just to create safe spaces for families like ours, both in the community and at home. And I got into real estate not anticipating to sort of be my journey, but I quickly saw that there was a need for someone who sort of like got it, right? Because it's just not the same. I would love to say that it's the same. And I get asked all the time, well, what makes it different? But I think if you walk in our lives, that our lives are certainly different than what you might get with, I hate to use this word, but average family.
Typical. Yeah. Yeah.
So did you become a realtor after you had your children or before you had your children?
Yes, after I had my children. So I was with Nordstrom for 15 years, and I actually thought I would like never leave Nordstrom. I loved the company. I was everything from a salesperson to a regional manager to store manager. That's actually what moved me across the country. I'm originally from Boston and have lived in a lot of places in the United States. And when my son was about 21 months, he got his diagnosis at that time and needed more significant therapy. So he was at Fraser for a while too, and then needed even more support. And I knew that my job would just not really allow for that. And my husband is fantastic and does so much. But I think for us moms who tend to do a lot of it, it was like, I need to make a pivot here. And so I have always been an entrepreneur in spirit. I was selling rocks when I was 8 years old by a speed bump, literally.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, what can I do that combines like my love of people and then also something that would work for my son? And that is how I got into real estate. And then it was after 8 months to a year that I saw that I really wanted to pivot and make my business focused on supporting families who need a little more care. And I will say it's been interesting because although my focus was really sort of the disability community, I have found that I tend to help also a lot of retirees, people who might be in a more financially tight situation, navigating a divorce. So those are really sensitive transactions. And I just feel so honored really to be able to support families who need and want a little extra guidance, a little extra support, or maybe even feel like this is too much for me. So I want to remove myself a little more and have you do a little more, which is usually what ends up happening.
So it's a real niche kind of market for the real estate world.
Had it provided you the flexibility that you were hoping for?
I will certainly say that there are absolutely times that I work much, much more than I used to work.
There's no such thing as a part-time job.
No. And I knew I wanted a full-time job too. I've always kind of had that worker bee mentality, but it definitely has allowed me to put some guardrails so that I can have the more flexible schedule I need. Absolutely. I still end up working a lot of hours, but what's great is that I can sort of take that gap in the middle of the day. Now he's at Sparrow to go pick him up those days that I'm picking him up. And if he has to go to a therapy appointment afterwards, or on Fridays, he does therapy and then Bridges program all day. I'm able to really flex and do that, which is so great.
You have one or two?
I have two. So I have William, who is now 6, and he has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. He also, although I don't know that he would meet this criteria anymore, developmental coordination disorder and speech and language disorder. And until he started his full-time therapy program at 2.5, had no words, didn't point, didn't make eye contact.
Does he use an AAC?
He hated his AAC. Well, I shouldn't say hated. That's a very strong word. Yeah, he used it to stim. So he would be like,
Felix does that a lot too.
But only to stim. So we did visuals. Visuals were better for him. Yep. Okay. And then about 8 to 9 months ago, a real sort of burst. He watched a lot of Peppa Pig and he loves Peppa Pig. And so we just started hearing like total echoing, but suddenly that seemed to kind of work those muscles that got him to do more speech. And he does sound different when he talks, but we actually have some sentences now, which is unbelievable. I could not imagine that he would be able to communicate some short sentences.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
That's exciting.
So let's tap into the knowledge that you have so that you could share it possibly with our families that are listening.
Yes.
So If a family who has a child or even an adult or someone in their family who has either a disability or is in the neurodiverse world,
Mhm.
how do you work with them from the beginning part to the closing part of finding a home that would work for their needs?
Yes. So I will say that it really is very personalized and very individual by individual. But there are a few things that I see almost all the time with families. First, I obviously have to have that important meeting. And there I am just listening and I'm asking questions less about the aesthetics. I mean, I understand that we have certain bedroom and bath counts, but maybe we're not talking as much about your dream kitchen island and more about the things that make your home feel safe for you. And so I kind of have this like framework called senses. So the first being really what safety or sensory needs do we need to consider for this family? What environment do we need to consider for the family? And that can even include things like being close to a park or must have a fence, things like that. And then we talk about the neighborhood. Will this neighborhood work for this family? And then we really talk about the spaces. So do we have a place that they would like a sort of sensory room or a little cubby for a quiet space? I had a family that their kiddo loved stairs. So we that had just tons of stairs. So you could stim on stairs all day. And then just those everyday routines. Like, would this work for our family every day? So in that sense, it's more customed, I would say, to some qualities that I of course work with your average family or your two. And those topics are really not talked about, especially the schools is always the big one.
Right.
Mhm.
For all types of families, probably, but
Yeah, but
especially ours.
especially our families. And I end up having a lot of relo families too, since Minnesota really is such a fantastic state. For those that
You
have-
mean relocation?
Yes, yes. Okay, relocation.
the
Yes.
lingo.
I am. I didn't mean to. And so for them, having some knowledge about schools, especially since special education is not something that is ranked or graded. Yeah, it's all anecdotal. And then I also have found that sending financials from schools can really help a family because they can sort of see where the budget lies and it can vary quite a bit from district to district. It's been interesting to learn. So that's really, I would say, what makes it different. There have been families that, for example, the whole idea of selling the home, that's usually where people want the most help. It can feel very, very, and I mean, for all individuals, overwhelming. So, for example, there was a family who had to do tasks like 1 week at a time. So it couldn't be, here is your 2 months timeline to get your home on the market. It was, here is what we are doing this week to get your home on the market. And then I would go there about every 2 weeks and create a new list, but just for myself and send it accordingly. Because otherwise it was a lot. And I also have neurodiversity. I have ADHD, and have my whole life. And you can have like analysis paralysis, really, when there is a lot to do, which there is a lot to do to get a home ready for
Well,
sale.
and transitions are hard for people. And so making sure there are clear expectations that
Yes.
can help our families navigate.
And I think the showing thing also with a more typical sale, if they are living there, you might give like a half an hour showing window, meaning that somebody could ask for a showing, say they want to be there at 1 o'clock, but 12:30 would be like the latest. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, the idea of getting everyone out of the house and having it clean enough for a showing in 30 minutes, I mean, that's what I need 24 hours.
Yeah. When I think about all the different criteria for the work that you do with families like ours, I was just totally thinking about buying. What do I need? I need a house with less stairs. I need a house that's fenced in. I wasn't thinking of the selling aspect, but it sounds like that's even more common and more stressful.
I have found that is actually more stressful is the selling portion, especially if they're still living in the home. My son, William, I mean, a indoor bounce house, trampoline, climbing wall, and a whole basement to run in is still not enough. So to make it show ready or for photos and then trying to maintain it that way would be actually impossible. Then, of course, the idea of the transition. Most people focus on selling before they focus on buying, because to get their home ready for sale or actually sold. So then there's a lot of nervousness. We're doing this huge move. We don't even know where we're going. What if it doesn't work? What if we don't find anything? What if the school isn't right? What if my son has a meltdown? Should I be doing this move? I don't know if this makes sense. Like, there's that a lot. And once you get to the buying portion, I have just found for family, it's a little more like exciting, and you can start to kind of daydream and imagine what a space could be, versus selling it is very emotional, is my experience.
You were talking about all the different aspects that go into looking for a home, and community and school, and all of that is so important. But I know a lot of physical disability too. Is that also a part of what you do? I keep thinking, like, I love what you are doing for the autism community and that neurodiversity, and thinking in that way. But can we open it up to
Of course,
all
sure.
disability? And they're just so much stronger together. We all only have our own experience,
Exactly.
right? Yet before we got an autism diagnosis, I was only thinking about like physical disabilities. Now there's a whole other thing I have to think about. And so I think the more we open this up, we start thinking about,
Absolutely.
like you said, having older people, right? If you have the privilege to live long enough, you will become a part of the disability community.
Yes, everyone will. Everyone will. Right. And so really, I mean, I think the work I do is applicable.
Yeah.
I mean, I use the
love
same
it.
framework when I am helping a distressed seller, when I'm helping a retiree, when I'm helping someone who has power of attorney for their parent who's in a hospital or nursing home. That really the same framework is used, and it simply is a little more hands-on, a little more tailored. That would be probably the biggest difference. Yes.
Do you ever suggest going in with a contractor, with somebody who can look at, like, Tram, when you were looking for your house, didn't you go in with somebody that was like a little bit looking at the potential?
So, Anna, I think what is different, and until you're in the world, you don't know what to look for, right? So I bought my house. I thought it was my forever home. I literally said, this is my forever home. And then it had no bathroom on the main floor, older English Tudor in the city, 1928 home, and no bathroom on the main, no bedroom on the main. And no one thinks about it, but I got sick. And then I couldn't walk up the stairs. And then I had Sadie. We didn't know her diagnosis in the beginning. So then she had a heart defect. So then we had oxygen tanks. We had an oximeter. And my mother lives with us. So that was the other. I'm a multi-generational home with people with 2 disabilities. So it started to become so hard. And it is true. Everything you just spoke about in selling the home was so difficult, because then I was living through, right? And so the discussion from a realtor's point of view, which is, I can give you this probably in a price range based on how the house is as is. If you want to get a higher price point, then you might want to do these X, Y, Z changes. Right? And in your head, you're calculating, can I put up with it? And I think that is the hard part of, then I had to go find a home, right? So it was like, I was stressed on both sides, because I had to find a home that would fit my mother on one level and give her the privacy. And then to have Sadie and myself on one level with a bathroom and a bedroom. And then I also had to have someone with that knowledge of construction, right? I mean, I think we looked at 40 homes before we found the one that we could move into that would fit the needs. Because in my head, I was like, we're staying in the city. This is where my community already is.
Sure.
And so when you're going through and advising some of these things, are you bringing in these discussions of, let's talk about what you really need for all of your rooms, and how do we start looking at construction costs, or do you want to already in the house? Like, how does that conversation work with you?
Yes, absolutely. And it depends on how much work needs to be done. So I have a interior designer, and they also do staging work that comes and does consultation from my sellers, and will also walk with any buyer if we need to think, what could we do here to make this space a blank that maybe wouldn't require as construction? And then I have a general contractor that I work with, and so he is able to really, he's a GC. So he's able to come in and he will come in and look at the space and kind of help you and tell you maybe what they have in stock that we could use or would keep the cost down. And he's been great to work with too. And then there's like a hauler for those people who need their things maybe thrown away or just removed emotionally and don't want to be part of it. And that's been happening more kind of with my retirees. A cleaner that I work with, a painter that I work with, a flooring guy that I work with. So there's a kind of a crew that I have available that also offers my clients little discounts, which is, we love that. So that has been for sure. Like yesterday, I have a listing coming up for somebody. It is a family with disabilities, not just autism. All 6 of their kids have disabilities.
Wow.
And they've lived in that home for a few years, but with 6 boys with disabilities, there's some things that need to be done in the house, which that anything I can do to try to help with that load, because it's so stressful, Tram, as you just said, on both ends. Yeah.
When I think of buying a home, before I had Sadie, before I got sick, right? I think I didn't know all that. And so it's true. You guys as realtors have a whole community from soup to nuts to help with that, or you have those connections to help. And I think that is really something you should ask your realtors when you're interviewing them too, right? To say, what can you help me with? Because I can't do this all. So I think that's awesome that you listed all those other people in your community to help.
Just like you said, there is such a scope. I mean, you can find a realtor who really will just sort of meet you at the home and open the door. And then you will have someone like me who will be over at your house helping you make to-do lists and opening your mail with you. That is what is needed, right? Which for one client was needed because she had so much mail, so many bills that it kind of went into a cubby and stayed there. So yeah, it's definitely above what you would typically do, but that is sort of my whole entire business model.
But as moms, that's what we do. We do
that's
above and beyond what is expected of a typical parenting experience, right? And so that's just natural.
Totally. I love that you said that. Yeah, it would feel odd to do anything else. Oh, that's going to be difficult for you. Good luck. Call me in 2 weeks.
Right.
I can't do that.
But I think like when I was looking for a home with my son that was already clearly exhibiting his disabilities, I was so in the trenches at that time that it wasn't even on my radar. And my realtor was not adept at saying, Jen, your child can't walk. He has trouble with mobility. He can't do stairs. And he was young, but still like he was very delayed. And here I buy a house with tons of stairs up to his bedroom and tons of stairs down to the playroom. And there was just no thinking about that. And so, yeah, I don't think everybody obviously has a hat on like you have.
I have a road map that I use with families that kind of shows you like where in the process should we start thinking about the sensory spaces, where in the process of, it's really kind of before appraisal, after section, but we should have someone come in and sort of look at what you might be able to do to this space. So to make it a little less overwhelming. And then for all of my buyers and sellers, I send out a detailed home buyer or home seller questionnaire, just a Google form that I created to learn all about those little things of your family that I want to take into consideration when I'm even setting up like someone's home search for them.
So I watched HGTV on Sunday mornings with Julian, and people who are buying a home have all these different things they want. They want the fancy island, they want the ensuite, this and that. Do you have to really help families like ours reprioritize and rethink that actually the stairs or the yard for an elopement risk or whatever is where you need to focus and let go of some of these other ideal fixtures or whatever? Is that kind of a hard process to do?
I think, again, it really depends on the family, but for most, regardless of the situation, buying a home gets people a little excited.
Yeah.
And when you get a little excited, you sometimes just kind of think, oh, this is not really going to be that big of a deal. But at our very first meeting, and even in my home buyer or home seller questionnaire, I asked for 3 non-negotiables. And so if any of those things, like, yeah, I know it's my busy road, but like everything else is so perfect, but the being on a busy road is a non-negotiable, I will very gently remind you that this was one of the top 3 things you said you absolutely could not have. Yes, I even warn buyers that at times it will sound like I'm trying to talk you out of buying a house. I'm not trying to talk anyone out of buying a house if they truly love it, but I am here to advocate for sometimes your child, if that's what you told me is really important, and sort of point out some of the things that may be difficult down the road.
And sometimes you never know, though. I mean, my non-negotiable was I have to have an attached garage, have to have an attached garage. But then we found this place where it was like, oh my gosh, the bus can pull all the way up here and the detached garage was heated. Like there were some other things that kind of balanced it out. So even though you have the non-negotiables, sometimes they get put back on the table.
Absolutely.
But something else
Absolutely.
that you never thought of actually is better. I mean, the bus pulls right up to our house. It's awesome.
That's
That's a
amazing.
good point.
And
Yeah.
if you had then said that the garage was a non-negotiable, I would have been there for sure. Well, seeing we had a heated garage, thought we were going to be great, right? But yes, and people's home buying, I will say, criteria often involves numerous times over the process. Like you go in thinking you want something, and then I like to start with an educational tour, which is that we go out and see 3 homes. Maybe one that you picked, 2 that I picked, and the idea is now that we're going out to
Just like the show.
I guess you're right. Just this show. I don't watch much HGTV.
I do.
And then that way we can sort of get an idea. Because like you said, yeah, a lot of people think these are the priorities until you get into some homes like in your price point and see, oh, wow, that's really going to be the priority for us.
Yeah. So you won the Good Neighbor Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you talk to us about the Twin Cities Autism Group? Can you talk to us about how you built it, why you built it, what you do? Because I do want to share this other aspect of your life.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that really is underneath, I think, all of it. So when William started in his full-time therapy program, and also prior to this, I had sort of stopped going to playdate with some of my other like moms and some of those that had the same age, because it was fine when they were infants. But once I started to see these kids like throwing a ball, talking, well, just being able to eat, actually. Yeah, we get it. It no longer was so fun to go on those play dates anymore. It became like this painful thing. But then instead of it's just me and William and me following William around everywhere, feeling even so isolated. And I did full-time therapy program. I did HIPAA, so we're not exactly like exchanging phone numbers. He took medical transportation, so I wasn't sitting around that often. But there were just a few moms that I knew from there. So every time I would go somewhere, I would just say, this is where I'm going. Anyone want to come meet me? And a lot of times people were like, thank you. Yes, I will meet you there on the weekend, really. And so there kind of became first 3 of us, then 8 of us. It was really 8 of us when it kind of became something. And we had a little group chat and a little Facebook chat, but it got kind of cumbersome to always dig it up. So I just said, I'm just going to put us all in our own group. And that was really the whole idea. And then moms started saying, it kind of grew like 12 moms. It'd be nice to get together for coffee. So we started to get together for coffee at my house. And after, I don't know, a few months of this, I never said it was all girls, but I just in my head thought it was going to be all moms. And then a dad showed up. And then it sort of just really grew. And we are on Facebook, although the group itself, that's the only things that's really posted there are like the play days. And every now and then someone has a question, because it's meant to be an in-person community. I think that we can find absolutely every group under the sun online, and many are sharing pointed advice and very opinionated and things like that. I just wanted a space where you could feel like you're with people who are going through the same struggle you are. And so I organized the play dates once a month, always in a completely enclosed, like double gate, usually at least, it's not triple gated place, so that we can actually, as parents, take that deep breath and relax while our kiddos run a little bit and build community.
So there are 2 separate events. So one event is for the kids, like the play date, and then the other one is just for parents.
That's how it started. But now the play dates, like the play date we had last week, and it was 50 of us at a farm.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the 2 weeks before that, I had a play date with the Special Olympics in the city of Plymouth. And that one was like 36 families. So once it's kind of a little more labor intensive to organize it all, I went down to the one kind of play date. And then ideally the play date location has a spot. Like we also had the party room and the gym actually at the Plymouth Community Center. So we set up the party room with like coffee and stuff, so parents could also go there and chat a little bit. So it's kind of become like a twofer.
But
So for
finding your
listeners,
people is
But that's it. It's finding your people. And I think some of the stories I've heard, like there was a mom who, and I know I'm not going to say her name, but she would be okay with me sharing this. She has a son with some medical needs and severe autism and is a stay-at-home mom. And I guess it was 2 years ago, her and her husband came to one of my get-togethers, and it was like a last-ditch effort by him before going down the check me into a mental institution, because she was struggling with the depression and the loneliness so much. And I mean, I don't want to say that my group is why she didn't go. That she like we actually became really quick friends, and that community, just having other people who also are doing it and
so
feeling
you
like
don't have
you're
to explain yourself over and over why your kid's doing this, or not always educating. You can just be.
just be, and also be honest. Like some days are really hard. I mean, not to be dramatic, but like
Nope.
some days when we were like in the thick of it, there would be these days where I'd be like, this is the worst day of my life. And it is not, because there had been some significant trauma in my life. But in that moment when you're all alone, it certainly can feel like it.
Yeah. So Haley and I took partners in policy making, and we met other parents that their children got newly diagnosed with neurodiversity. And they too were like, I just got diagnosed too. And they're like, burnout is real and it's emotionally draining. And then on top of it, you're not sleeping because you're always on fight or flight. And I think having that playtime together, right? I mean, so we all understand the isolation and the depression. And so having that play date so that your kids can go play and they can meet other kids. Because I think even not only parents finding their community, your kids finding community. And I think that's important too, because it is hard sometimes when the other kids are like, why is he doing that? Or why is she doing that? Right. And so that helps. So that is so amazing, because I did read on your website, you donate a portion of your sales to
Yes.
do this
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, sometimes it actually feels like I'm running a charity. I'm like, single life was to donate 10% of my proceeds. I'm very sure I'd be a lot more than that. So yes, and it's because I want to make the playdate accessible to all. Like in the very beginning, I would do some playdates at some places where you have to pay like between $12 to $22 per entry. And it was very clear that for many families, and even for our family, I mean, no, first off, we don't know that our kids are going to show up. And we also, if you buy a ticket, there's 50% chance we're never coming. Yeah. And if we do come, there's another 50% chance that we are leaving in 15 minutes. So I wanted to make them free so that they could be accessible for everyone, which is sort of how the combination of then combining the group and the real estate happened.
Well, it's kind of like on your website, you have a blog post section, and you have a blog titled "Why Saying No to Birthday Parties is Sometimes the Best Thing We Can Do." And I think of, yes, if you commit to something, our families, 50% of the time, we can't show up.
Right.
It's really difficult. Or we have to leave, or we stand out because our child's screaming, or this and that, or hitting somebody. And so, yeah, just being with like-minded people who get it is amazing. And also the feasibility of that for people is amazing too.
I always knew that birthday parties were challenging when it was, especially for my other son, Henry, who has a diagnosis of pervasive developmental disorder, but I believe that he will kind of grow out, or maybe it's just a little ADHD, but not the kind of support that William needs. And we went to one birthday party where it was on Starring Lake Park, and no fence, right? But still, there are those 3 playgrounds, and I was standing up and they were playing. I looked away for 90 seconds to talk to this other mom. I looked back, I saw Henry, and there's slides and stuff. So I figured William would just be in there too. And then we talked for another minute, that ceiling where you just, something's wrong. And I was like, just give me one moment. And I walked down there and no William. And long story short, he had the planes go. And so he'd run out to kind of to see the planes, and then got to the trails. But I called 911 and definitely ruined that little girl's birthday party. But after that, I was like, I don't need to do this.
It wasn't what you expected. Yeah.
No, and it already, even before the 911, it was challenging. So,
oh my goodness. Yeah. That totally resonates for me. And I remember a girlfriend of mine said to me once, I was always trying to go out for dinner with Julian, and it was always so hard. And he would have behavior issues or screaming or whatever. And she said to me one day, just simply, don't do it anymore. Don't go out to dinner anymore. And I was like, that's an option? I thought I had to keep trying and keep trying. And it was like so simple of a concept, but it just changed my whole life. So that's why this article resonated with me. But
Yeah.
so where can people find you and where can they find information about the events?
Yeah. So really the best place is to go onto my website, annaelderhomes.com. And then there is a subscribe button there if you would like to be notified for all the events.
It's kind of that local community connection.
Yeah.
Well, any events would be
Yes. Any events that I can find that happen to be sensory friendly-ish. We have a really kind of gross, like, whoa, wow, this is all happening very quick. And things have gotten to a point now where I must like smooth systems, the admin, all of that. So
growth is a
So
good problem to have.
it's a good problem. Yeah, it's a really good problem, especially in this
High energy
business,
is a
which-
great thing to have, Anna, because I can tell you have amazing energy to be able to do all this. So our last question, Anna, because I know time is important. You're so busy, but for families who are beginning their home buying journey, what 3 pieces of advice would you give?
Okay, yes. If they're just kind of beginning their journey, the first thing I would say is sort of like I highlighted earlier, kind of focus on those like regulation needs versus the aesthetic as much, which can be challenging. The aesthetic is usually kind of the more exciting part, especially if you're buying. Then to consider that budget for what you're doing. I say usually 3 to 5%, depending on how much you're planning, and then also depending if there's going to be like waiver support. And if there's waiver support, is this self-directed waiver, or do we need to write something in if we are building out a fence that's going to need to go to your support plan? So those things, just that budget, and or if we have other resources that we're using, making sure we have a plan for those. And then the last would probably just be like the community, making sure that you're interviewing the community. I suggest that parents call the school and ask if there is a parent with a child that has disabilities that I could speak to about their experience. So
Great
those
idea.
would probably be the 3.
Great ideas. Super, super helpful. Well, thank you so much for taking time on
Yes.
your busy day to talk with us and share.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you liked today's topic or have comments, questions, or thoughts on what else you would like us to cover, please visit rarelyfamiliar.com or connect with us on all the social channels. Resources will be listed in our show notes, and we'll be back next time with another discussion around living life successfully with rare medical complexities. Thanks for joining us on the journey.